I packed my boyfriend's bags for his business trip, while sick with a fever and, you know that gut-wrenching feeling when your whole world just shifts? Like one moment you're in a comfortable, predictable life, and the next you realize the person you love thinks you're nothing but background noise? What would you do if your partner, while you're literally sick in bed, outed himself as a cheating narcissist, and then had the audacity to call you filler? Because that's exactly what happened to me, and trust me, it got so much worse before it got better. Okay, deep breath. I'm Sydney, I'm 29, and until recently my life was pretty normal. I live in a tiny apartment, got a dog who thinks every falling leaf is a personal affront, and I was with my boyfriend Calvin for 2 years. 2 years, which turns out is just enough time to realize someone isn't who you thought they were. I also have a sister who lives life 3 time zones away, and a mom who texts me daily reminders to hydrate. Classic, right? This whole nightmare really kicked off last week, but honestly the weirdness had been building. Calvin, 31, started acting off. Not in an obvious way, just little things that didn't quite add up. His phone was always face down. He changed his wallpaper from a goofy selfie of us to his dog, which fine, but he didn't even mention it. Then came the endless excuses about being slammed at work, always conveniently too busy for dinner, or anything that lasted more than an hour. My gut started to twist. Then I got properly sick. Not just a cute little sniffle, I'm talking a fever that made my bones ache. Monday night I was practically delirious, dragging myself to the kitchen for orange juice. And of course, that's the exact moment Calvin texts me. Hey, can you help me pack for my work conference tomorrow? I'm slammed and I can't find my blue shirt. I just stared at my phone for a good 5 minutes. Why was this suddenly my job? But I said sure. Because that's what you do, right? You hope they'll see you're dying and say, oh, never mind, you rest. But nope. So there I am, half delirious, sorting his laundry while he's pacing around my living room on a call, moving piles of stuff from one chair to another. I'm coughing so hard my eyes are watering. I ask if he packed his charger. He barely glances at me. It's fine, I'll use the hotel one. He casually mentions the trip is for client meetings and that he'll be gone 3 nights, not 2 like he first said. I pointed out that was new information and he just shrugged as if I was the one being difficult. He didn't even say thank you. Just grabbed the suitcase, kissed my forehead and said, great, now you're definitely sick, before laughing and heading out. No real goodbye. Just, text me if you need anything. Yeah, right. The next few days were a blur of lukewarm soup, bad TV, and work emails I barely understood. Calvin sent a few texts. Busy day, headed to dinner. But nothing special, no details. It felt like I was talking to a wall. My mom, bless her, offered to DoorDash soup, which I gratefully accepted because I could barely stand. Then 3 days in, I'm scrolling through Instagram stories, desperate for a distraction because I can't sleep. I see one of those you've been tagged notifications. It's from a girl I vaguely knew in college, Kira, who I haven't spoken to in years. She's at some pool party at a downtown hotel. I clicked out of sheer boredom, not expecting anything. And then there he was. Calvin. In the background of her group shot, clear as day. Shirtless. By the pool. Sunglasses on. Drink in one hand. And a girl blonde in a bikini literally sitting on his lap. Not just some distant acquaintance. She was in his personal space, arm draped over him, laughing at something he was saying. And he was smiling. Not his fake work smile. His real smile. The one he uses when he thinks no one's watching. I didn't even react at first. Just stared. I actually zoomed in thinking maybe I'm hallucinating. I'm on cold medicine, right? But no. It was him. Same watch. Same stupid tattoo. I scrolled back through Kira's story and there was more. Calvin playing some poolside game. Calvin at a bar with a whole group. Calvin definitely not in a meeting room. I felt so unbelievably stupid. I had literally packed his bag, folded his shirts, put those tiny travel toothpaste tubes in a baggie because he always forgets. And the whole time he was planning to what? Party? Hook up? I don't even know what to call it. I texted him. Nothing crazy. Just, hey, are you at a pool party? He didn't respond for hours. I called, it went to voicemail twice. Then he finally texted back. Super busy. Talk later. By this point I was shaking with pure rage. So I called again. This time he picked up. I could hear music in the background, people laughing. He sounded half drunk, like I'd interrupted a joke. I asked if he was actually on a work trip or just out partying. He laughed. Straight up laughed. Then he said it, all casual, like he was talking about the weather. "You're just there. You're comfortable, predictable, not exciting. Just filler, not the main event. Like I'm a placeholder, basically. And then the kicker. The other girl is who I celebrate with, and you're just something to come back to when I'm bored." I didn't even know what to say. I tried to argue, but he talked right over me. Said it wasn't personal, just that some people are good for fun and some are good for stability, and I was the second kind. "But honestly," he added, "I'm not sure I even want that anymore." Then he hung up on me. I stared at my phone until the screen went black. Then I threw it at the wall. Not my proudest moment, but it bounced off. No cracks, just a dent in the paint. I just sat there for a while, not even crying, just exhausted. My dog came over and put his head on my lap, like he knew something was wrong. I just pet him because what else was I supposed to do? I texted my sister, but she was asleep. Time zones. I didn't want to call my mom. She just offered to drive down and make me soup, and I was too tired to explain any of this. What gets me is how normal everything seemed until it suddenly wasn't. There were signs, sure, but nothing you could point to and say, "There, that's it." Just a slow drip of weirdness that you ignore because you're busy or sick, or because you trust someone. I spent the whole week making excuses for him while he was out living a different life. I hadn't blocked him yet. Part of me wanted to call Kira and ask if she knew. But honestly, I didn't even want the answers right now. I was just so tired. I kept looking at the bag I packed for him like it was some kind of cursed object. I wanted to throw it out the window. That's where I was at. I felt like I should be having some big dramatic breakdown. But all I wanted was to go to sleep and wake up with a normal life. I know that's not how it works, but I didn't know what I was supposed to do next. I just knew I wasn't doing this again. I was done being the filler. I wasn't sure what that looked like yet, but I guess I'd find out. I wasn't even sure why I posted this to begin with. Maybe just to see if anyone else has been this dumb, or if I was missing something obvious. Do people just treat each other like this now? Is that normal? After that initial shockwave, I wish I could say I woke up the next morning all empowered or whatever, but nah. I woke up with my dogs, but in my face, a text from my mom that simply read, "Vitamin C helps," and 27 unread emails from work. Life keeps moving even when yours just imploded. For a couple of days I didn't block Calvin. I know, stupid. I just watched his stories, checking my phone way too much. Maybe he'd call and explain it was all a joke, a misunderstanding. Instead, he posted a pic of himself at a bar with a bunch of people I didn't recognize and then a photo of his dog. For a second I started doubting myself. I replayed the call in my head over and over. Was I being dramatic? Did I mishear? But every time I remembered his voice, the way he said filler like it was a compliment, and I got mad all over again. Not just at him, but at myself for being so available. I literally ran a fever and packed his bag like his personal assistant, while he was out being the main event for someone else. I felt like an idiot. The weirdest part was how normal everything else stayed. I still had to buy groceries, still had to walk my dog, still had to text my sister Noelle back about her new apartment and pretend my life wasn't a complete mess. And my mom, who I finally told, just said, "Well, maybe this is a sign to focus on yourself for a while." Classic mom advice, but not super helpful when your ex's stuff is still all over your place. So here's where things started to shift. I was doom scrolling in bed, eating dry cereal because I was out of milk again. And I saw Calvin had posted a throwback pic of us from last summer with the caption, "Good times." Like, excuse me, are you trying to make yourself look like a sad boy now? It hit me. His stuff. It was still in my closet. His stupid sneakers, his old hoodie, his dumb collection of half-broken earbuds. I texted Brianna, my best friend, who is honestly a chaos magnet. She just replied, "Get rid of it. All of it. Do not let him come back and act like nothing happened." So I did. I started with the sneakers and worked my way up. By the end, I had 3 garbage bags full of his stuff. It was actually kind of satisfying. I almost kept the hoodie because it's really comfortable, but then I remembered him laughing at me on the phone, and I threw it in too. I called a rideshare, tossed the bags in, and had them dropped outside his building. I texted him, "Your stuff's out front. Come get it. Don't come here again." Then I blocked him everywhere. Phone, socials, even Venmo because I just couldn't deal with another "Can you send me $4 for coffee?" request. I figured that was it. Done. Over. But of course, Calvin doesn't do done. 2 days later, I'm at work trying to focus when the front desk pings me and says someone's here to see me. I already knew before they said his name. He was standing in the lobby, holding one of the garbage bags like some kind of sad clown. I don't know if he expected me to be embarrassed or what, but I just walked out, arms crossed, and said, "You need to leave." He started going off. Said I was overreacting. Said I was making a scene. Said nobody else would take him in after what I did, which was honestly hilarious because I wasn't the one who lied. He tried to follow me back inside, and I actually put my hand on his chest and pushed him back. Not hard, but enough that he got the message. He grabbed my wrist, not in a nice way, and for a second I just saw red. I yanked my arm back and snapped, "Don't touch me." The security guard came over and was like, "Sir, you need to leave." Calvin finally dropped the bag and stormed out, but not before kicking the bag into the door so hard half his stuff spilled out. Earbuds everywhere. One sneaker bouncing down the hall. I just stood there, feeling everyone's eyes on me. Then I picked up the bag and dumped it in the trash room. The rest of the day I couldn't concentrate. My wrist hurt where he grabbed it, and there was a faint red mark. I kept replaying it, wondering if I should have yelled or done more. But honestly, I just wanted it to be over. When I got home, there was a note stuck to my door in his handwriting. It was long and messy, full of crossed-out words and half-assed apologies. At one point, he called me a cold-hearted snake. I wish I was joking. And then said he'd always thought I was too good to be interesting. Like, pick a lane, dude. I ripped up the note and threw it in the compost bin. My dog tried to eat it. Classic. I called Brianna and she just said, "Well, at least you got your power back, I guess." But it didn't feel like power. It felt like taking out the trash, literally. The worst part? A couple of our mutual friends started texting me that Calvin was saying I flipped out and went psycho, and that he was scared for his stuff. So now I was getting side-eyed by people I used to hang out with every week. One girl, who I thought was my friend, actually DM'd me to say maybe I should have let him down easier. Like he dumped me over the phone while at a pool party with another girl, but sure, I should have been more polite. I tried to avoid everyone for a while. Stayed off socials, muted a bunch of people, just focused on getting through the week. My mom kept texting me soup recipes. My sister kept sending me memes about men are trash. Thanks, Noel. The only thing that felt normal was walking my dog and watching him go absolutely feral at every squirrel. Then Saturday night, Calvin called me from a random number. I knew it was him because who else calls these days? I didn't pick up. He left a voicemail slurring his words, saying he missed me, saying he couldn't believe I did this to him. I deleted it without listening to the end. On Sunday, I came home from the store and found one of his old t-shirts stuffed in my mailbox. Just why? I didn't even touch it. Just pushed it down to the bottom and left it there. If the post office wants to keep it, they're welcome to it. I don't know if that's getting even or just moving on, but it's something. And if Calvin tries to show up again, I swear I'm calling security before he even sets foot in the building. So hi again. I wasn't planning on updating already, but the last week has been so weird and exhausting that if I don't write this out somewhere, I'll lose my mind. This is gonna be long, sorry in advance, but if you want drama that's not even fun, just uncomfortable. Here we go. After the whole garbage bags at his door and Calvin getting escorted out by security episode, can't believe that's a thing I have to say about my own life. I was honestly expecting things to just fizzle out. Like he'd block me, I'd block him, we'd both move on, and maybe awkwardly avoid each other at the dog park. Whatever. But apparently Calvin is not built like that. Or maybe I'm just not as invisible as he thought. The first weird thing was my mom calling on Tuesday morning. Not just to ask if I needed soup, but because she'd gotten a call from my building's front desk. Yes, you read that right. Apparently, Calvin showed up super early, said he forgot his charger, lies, and asked if he could be let up to my apartment. The front desk said no, obviously, and then called my emergency contact because he apparently looked distressed and was pacing outside. So, my mom is now convinced I should have a panic button installed. Classic. I texted him one last time. Do not come to my building again or I'll have to escalate this. I made it super clear and then I blocked his new number. At this point I was tired. I was still catching up on sleep from being sick, and I was running on spite and pure caffeine. But it gets messy, eh? I started getting DMs from mutual friends, some of whom I barely talk to anymore, asking what happened. One guy, Ramon, just goes, "So, did you really throw all of Calvin's stuff in the garbage? Like, not even hi. Just straight to the drama." I said no, I bagged it and had it delivered to his door, which is the bare minimum after what he did, in my opinion. He sends back a shrug emoji and then nothing. Cool. Then this girl, Jess, who is honestly more Calvin's friend than mine, messages me to say maybe I should give him a chance to explain because he's really upset. I tell her the short version. He lied, cheated, and called me filler. She just replies, "That doesn't sound like him," and then asks if I'm sure I didn't misinterpret. Like, yes, I hallucinated the entire phone call and Instagram story. Sure. I didn't even bother arguing. Just left it on read. So now I'm getting weird vibes from people I thought were neutral or even on my side. Not everyone, but enough that it made me second-guess things. Am I the crazy ex? Did I go too far? But then my sister Noelle texts me a screenshot she got from Calvin's new story. She follows him still because she likes to keep tabs. It's a close-up of his dog and the caption is, "Wish loyalty was contagious," with a crying emoji. I hate that it stings. I hate that people eat up that sad boy stuff and don't know what he's actually like. The next thing that happens is I start noticing stuff going missing from the building's shared mail area. Like one day my blue box of protein bars is just gone. And then my dog's new leash is opened and thrown under the table. Not saying it's him for sure, but the timing is so sus. I ask the front desk if they saw anything. They just shrug and say, could be anyone. But they'll keep an eye out. I'm not going to go full conspiracy, but it does make me double-check the locks every night. I decided to actually talk to a couple of friends in person because texting wasn't cutting it. I met up with Brianna, who is still my ride or die, and we just vented over coffee for 2 hours. She said I did the right thing, that people always pick sides and it's usually the loudest one. She told me, if anyone wants his side so bad, they can date him themselves. I laughed for like the first time in days, but things were still tense. The next day I saw Calvin hanging around the corner by my building, just standing there with his phone out like he was waiting for someone. I took a long way home, circled the block, and only went in when he was gone. I texted my landlord and asked what my options were if someone kept coming by. He said if it kept happening, they'd issue a formal warning and maybe even call the cops if it escalated. Not what I wanted, but good to know, I guess. Then it actually does escalate. Saturday night, I'm home watching some dumb baking show, and my dog starts barking like he's possessed. I look out the peephole and see Calvin banging on my door, yelling loud enough that the neighbor's baby starts crying. He's slurring his words and I can smell booze even through the door. I shout at him to leave, but he keeps going. Says he just wants to talk. I say go home. You're not coming in. He starts crying, then gets angry and throws his bag at my door. I hear something crash. And when I finally open the door after he's left, my flower pot is smashed and there's dirt all over the hallway. At this point I was done being polite. I called building management, reported the whole thing, and they said they'd send out a warning letter. Next morning my neighbor, an older lady, super sweet, always gives my dog treats, tells me she heard everything, and if I need a witness she'll vouch for me. I thanked her and apologized for the mess. She just shrugs and says, "Men are exhausting. Which fair?" And then, as if I needed more, I get a call from work on a Sunday. Why? Because apparently Calvin messaged my old boss asking if I'd been acting strange lately, and if he should be concerned for my mental health. Like what? I don't even know how he got that number. I was mortified. And now I had to explain to people that no, I'm not having a breakdown. My ex is just a mess. So now I was dealing with the fallout on every front. I had people gossiping, Calvin lurking, my mom stress calling me twice a day, my dog suspicious of every single sound in the hallway. I even considered moving, but that felt dramatic and expensive. And honestly, why should I be the one to leave? So for now, I just kept my head down and tried to act like none of this was getting to me. The only upside is that it's made me way more stubborn about my boundaries. Like last time Calvin tried to DM me from a spam account, I just blocked it without even opening it. I told my friends if they want to hang out with him, cool, but I'm not going to be there. I told my mom if she wants to worry, she can send me cookies instead of panic articles about break-ins. And for the first time, I actually stood up to my landlord when he tried to give me grief about the noise. I said, "I'm not the problem here, and if you want to keep good tenants, maybe help keep the creeps out." He didn't say much, but he did send someone to clean up the hallway dirt the next day. So yeah, fallout is the right word. It's not some neat closure thing. It's just a mess and I'm tired. And honestly, if I never see Calvin again, it'll be too soon. But I guess I'm learning slowly that sometimes you have to make your own peace, even if nobody else gets it. I know this isn't the most satisfying update, but that's where I'm at. Real talk. I wasn't even going to post this update because who wants to admit their life is still a mess after all that? But apparently, I'm the main character in a soap opera no one asked for. So here we go. This is for everyone who messaged to ask if Calvin finally left me alone, or for anyone who's ever had an ex pop up like a bad ad you can't close. It's been about 4 months since the whole suitcase packing while dying plus filler not main event phone call plus garbage bag saga. Honestly, life's been not good, not bad, just different. I ended up moving like 3 blocks away. Not because of him directly, but because my old landlord was being a pain after the whole flower pot door drama, and the rent went up, of course. My new place is smaller, but the windows actually open and my dog's happier here. Less hallway noise, more sunspots. I even got a new couch off Marketplace, the kind you have to put together yourself and curse at for like 2 hours. My mom's still calling every other day, but it's mellowed out to "What are you eating?" instead of "Is your ex stalking you?" She even mailed me a box of those vitamin gummies she swears by, as if they're going to keep away drama. Noelle visited for a weekend, brought fancy coffee and her usual hot takes on why breakups are good for the soul. She's not wrong, but she's also never stuck around long enough for the actual fallout. So yeah, I thought I was finally in the clear. Then last Saturday, I'm coming back from walking the dog, arms full of groceries, and the neighbor's kid, the one who always tries to pet my dog, even though she's terrified of dogs, tells me there's a man crying outside my door. I actually laughed at first like, not possible, right? But then I heard the voice, and I knew before I even turned the corner. It was Calvin, sitting on the floor outside my apartment, knees up, head in his hands. He looked rough. Not just I've been crying rough, but I haven't slept in days and maybe haven't changed my shirt rough. He had a bag with him, one of those ugly canvas ones he always swore he'd never use. Guess he ran out of options. I stood there for a second, honestly debating if I should just pretend I forgot something and go back out. The neighbor kid was staring at me, waiting for a show. My dog started barking. So I walked up, dropped the groceries a little too hard right inside my door and said, "What are you doing here?" Not angry, not sad, just tired. He started babbling, said he was sorry, said he'd been thinking about me nonstop, said everything got out of control. He said he missed me, that the other girl was nothing, and that he made a mistake, a huge mistake. He was crying actual tears. And for a second I almost felt bad. Almost. But mostly I was just annoyed that he was bringing all this here again after everything. I told him he needed to leave, that this wasn't his home. Not anymore. He said he had nowhere else to go, that his friends were tired of his words, not mine, his shit. That he didn't know who to talk to. He tried to stand up, wobbled, and put his hand on my arm. It wasn't gentle, it was desperate. And my first reaction was to pull away hard. My bag of groceries tipped over. Oranges rolled out. My dog barked louder. He kept talking, got louder, said I was the only one who ever understood him, that he was lost without me. I tried to step back, but he followed, grabbed my wrist, and that's when I just snapped. I shoved his arm off me, maybe harder than I needed to, and told him to get out. He flinched, but he didn't move. I told him again, louder, and neighbors started peeking out their doors. He finally stood up, wiped his face, and asked if he could just come inside for 5 minutes. I said no. He begged, said he wasn't leaving until I talked to him. I told him, "If you don't leave, I'm calling building security again, and this time I won't be so nice." He looked at me for a long second like he was trying to decide if I was serious. Then he said, "Just give me one more chance, please." I said, "Absolutely not." And he didn't like that. He started yelling, said I ruined his life. At this point I was shaking, not scared, just mad. I told him, "You did that yourself. And if you don't walk away right now, I'm calling the cops." He tried to push past me, like actually tried to step into my apartment, so I stepped forward and slapped him across the face. Not my proudest moment, but honestly it felt justified. He stumbled back, shocked, and finally got it. He picked up his bag, muttered something under his breath, and walked down the hall. My dog was still barking. I stood in the doorway watching him leave, and for the first time since all this started, I felt not good but definitely not guilty. Neighbors started whispering. The kid's mom gave me a look like, "Want me to call someone?" I shook my head, thanked her, and started picking up my groceries and what was left of my pride. I called my mom, told her what happened, and she said she was proud of me for not letting him walk all over me. She offered to come stay the night, but I said I was fine. Noelle FaceTimed me later. Said next time I should just aim for the throat. She's kidding, I think. The next morning there's a note slipped under my door. It just says sorry and nothing else. I don't respond. Don't unblock him. Don't do anything. I put the note in the trash with the broken eggs and the orange peels. The fallout's not over. My neighbor told me Calvin was sleeping in his car for a couple of nights, and someone said he tried to crash at Ramon's, but Ramon told him to get lost. One of the mutual friends texted me that Calvin's telling everyone I assaulted him. But honestly, I don't care anymore. Let them pick sides. Let them gossip. I know what happened, and so do the people who actually matter. I wish I could say this ended with me feeling all wise and healed, but honestly, I'm just glad it's quiet for once. I don't know what comes next. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. Have you ever faced someone this relentlessly awful? What would you have done in my place, especially when he showed up at my new apartment? I really want to know what you think.